Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Gordon Hayward explains why he chose Celtics over Heat in 2017. Back in 2017, the Miami Heat were among the teams who attracted Gordon Hayward. However, the now-retired star chose the Boston Celtics then. Hayward explained on the Dan Le Batard show with Stugotz why he chose the Celtics over the Heat. "Well, it was reuniting with Brad Stevens," Hayward said. "Brad was one that sold it, it's hard to compete with, somebody that I played under at Butler and had a huge impact on my life, not just as a player but also a person, so, that was kind of the key thing, was being able to go play for him again." At the time, Stevens was the Celtics head coach. Stevens and Hayward had both experience and success together with Butler. They went all the way to the 2010 NCAA Finals, where Hayward almost made one of the most miraculous buzzer beaters in college basketball history. They did not replicate the same success in Boston, though that was because Hayward suffered a freak injury only a few minutes into his Celtics tenure. Though Hayward joined Boston, he admitted that at one point, he had his mind made up about joining the Heat. "That was a super tough decision," Hayward told Le Batard. "I basically visited 3 teams. I started with Miami, then did Boston, then finished with Utah, meeting with all those teams. I remember vividly telling my agent after each meeting, like, I started with Miami, and I'm like, I want to go to Miami. We don't even need to do the other meetings. Miami is the place I want to be," and he kind of was like, "Well, we got to hear everyone out." He praised Miami as an organization while also explaining why Miami appealed to him as a city. "The Heat have always been a first-class organization, so I was really close to signing there," Hayward continued. "I feel like Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league, and obviously, Pat Riley is legendary in his own right. I was very close. Also, my brother-in-law lives in Miami. My wife would have loved living there and the beach and everything, but ultimately decided to go to Boston." Hayward choosing Boston over Miami certainly created a domino effect for the Heat. His signing there may or may not have gotten in the way of them signing Jimmy Butler, who signed 2 years later. Or the two could have teamed up to make Miami all the better as a team. Signing with Miami may have also prevented him from suffering that career-altering injury. He made the All-Star team in 2017 at 27 years old, meaning he should have maintained playing at that level for some time. Breaking his leg and dislocating his ankle in one fell swoop changed all of that. Knowing the Heat made the NBA Finals twice since 2017 certainly makes one think about where they would be if Hayward had chosen them. Would they have gone more, and if so, would they have another title? Heat map: do you live in one of Miami's hottest neighborhoods? As we all collectively bake in the scorching South Florida heat, you're probably thinking you don't need another study telling you how hot it is. Still, Climate Central, a non-profit group that researches and reports on Earth's changing climate and how it affects our lives, would like a word. Scientists at Climate Central developed a measurement called the Urban Heat Island (UHI) Index, which expresses in degrees Fahrenheit the extent to which the built environment, from population density to urban infrastructure to vehicle traffic, tree cover, and concrete surfaces, increases ambient temperatures. Then, they used data from the 2020 U.S. Census to apply the index to 65 cities nationwide, including Miami. "We're looking at, basically, the additional heat," explains Jennifer Brady, a senior data analyst and research manager for the climate-focused nonprofit. "Say you were just standing in a spot and took away the pavement, roads, and traffic, how much cooler would it be there?" Having crunched data from the 332 census block groups that comprise the city of Miami, Climate Central pegged Miami's average UHI at 8.38 degrees. That's the 9th highest average UHI index of the 65 cities that were studied. New York City topped the list at 9.65 degrees, with San Francisco, Newark, Chicago, and Philadelphia rounding out the top 5. West Palm Beach slotted in 2 spots higher than Miami, at 8.47 degrees. Brady notes that Miami has pretty high temperatures to begin with, so the additional heat on top is going to make it even hotter. Whereas in New York, you may have more areas that are 11 degrees hotter, but maybe these temperatures are lower. Moreover, the UHA index doesn't factor in humidity. Climate Central estimated that 85,000 of Miami's 450,000 residents, nearly 20%, experience temperatures at least 9 degrees higher than inhabitants of less urban areas. Parts of the Silver Bluff Estates neighborhood off Coral Way experience an air temperature increase of 13 degrees on the high end, while other areas feel only a 6.8-degree bump. Shocking blockbuster mock trade sends Anthony Edwards to the Miami Heat. Following the 2024 Olympics, all the talk was centered around superstars LeBron James and Stephen Curry, but a player has also slipped into the news: Anthony Edwards. The superstar shooting guard had a solid Olympics in a supplementary role, averaging 12.8 points and 2.8 rebounds per game on 58% from the field and 48% from three. However, despite Edwards' strong performances coming off a strong season where he led the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Western Conference Finals, there is some news that the Miami Heat could be a potential landing spot for the superstar. To further amplify the noise, we present what a potential mock trade could look like. This trade would shake up both conferences in the NBA during the 2024-25 season, and here is the breakdown of this blockbuster deal if Anthony Edwards would ever decide to force his way out of Minnesota to join the Miami Heat. By acquiring Anthony Edwards, the Miami Heat would catapult themselves into the realm of NBA superteams. Edwards, who averaged 25.9 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game during the 2023-24 season, has proven himself as one of the league's brightest young stars. His ability to take over games with explosive scoring, combined with his elite athleticism, would complement Jimmy Butler's gritty, all-around play and Bam Adebayo's defensive prowess. The Heat, known for their defensive tenacity under head coach Erik Spoelstra, would now also possess a lethal offensive weapon who can score at all 3 levels, making them a nightmare for opposing defenses. In addition to his scoring, Edwards would bring much-needed youth and energy to a Heat team that has often relied on the veteran leadership of Butler. At just 23 years old, Edwards is already an established star, and his ceiling remains incredibly high. His playoff experience with the Timberwolves, where he led them to the Western Conference Finals, showed his ability to perform on the biggest stage. Adding him to a roster with championship aspirations would likely push Miami over the top, giving them a legitimate shot at contending for multiple titles. Edwards' arrival in Miami would also allow the Heat to deploy one of the most versatile lineups in the league. His defensive potential, paired with Adebayo's elite rim protection and Butler's perimeter defense, would make Miami a force on both ends of the floor, and they could finally win an NBA title following 2 finals losses in 2020 and 2023. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Anthony Edwards? Leave your opinion in the comments.